How's it going, everybody? I want to welcome you back to another episode of King Sales, the podcast series where we help you transform trauma into triumph. Today, I got a very special guest joining me. He is a Rutgers and Drexel Law alum. He is a certified MBA and FIBA agent. He's a corporate attorney and the CEO of Greenwoods Sports Group. Without further ado, I'll allow Mr. Alex Kungu to introduce himself.
Thank you for a great introduction. It's one of the best I've heard. Yeah, man, thank you for having me on the podcast. Very fun, very good to be here with the man I grew up with. It's nice to see you growing up and doing your thing, man. So happy to be on for you.
Hey, I definitely appreciate you making time out of your busy schedule because, again, adulthood is really ghetto. And the fact that, we're making it work is a testament to itself. So thanks for making it on.
Of course, man, anytime.
So I wanted to start, being a first generation American and the oldest son, what were some of the challenges that you faced when you started like fully adulting, like with figuring out yourself, finding your identity, and eventually, getting to the point that you're at right now?
Yeah, man, I think the hardest thing about being the oldest is like you kind of have this idea that like you have to kind of be an example in a way. So at times that can kind of strip you of your own agency in terms of what you want to do for yourself, and you don't even realize it at times until you start getting older and realize, oh wait, I'm unhappy doing this, or I actually don't really like doing this. And then because you've been so conditioned to please and want to show want to be able to do obedient one for your parent, sometimes that can be very hard. So that's something I struggle with like very much early in my life. Just one, figuring out what I want to do, and then getting to a point where like I can tell my parents, this is not what I'm doing. I'm doing this is this. Because obviously, I made a jump from being a lawyer, which is traditionally like one of the four jobs you're allowed to have as an African man. And then now I'm being an MBA agent, which is things that when they grew up, they didn't. No one knew what no one knew what an MBA agent is. They don't understand what that is. So there was a lot of conversations about that, like switching my career and doing stuff like that. I had to kind of stand on what I wanted for myself at that point. But it definitely took longer than I think my younger siblings would need to have to get to that point. So I would say that's the biggest thing, being able to like just pick you a lot of times. And that's very hard to do sometimes when you're the eldest.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I definitely do believe that finding that agency for yourself is huge. And you don't really realize it when you're in the midst of it, that like your voice really does matter, and you have to like stand up for yourself and be confident in what it is that you're doing. Because if you're not, no one else is going to believe in you.
Exactly. And I mean, you are still setting a different standard for your siblings as well. Like I don't want my siblings to feel like I just have to do whatever mom and dad want me to do. I want them to see that, I'm coming out here, I'm doing my own thing, I'm building my own path. So why can't you? And be better than I am even, So I definitely feel like in your own way, you are, by choosing your own agency, you're also you're showing the best example of what being an elder sibling is.
Very well said. Very well said. I want to piggyback, backtrack a little bit and talk a bit about your career path that you just shared. It's, I remember when you were going through undergrad and a little bit of law school and seeing how stressful it was for you, but seeing you on the other side now, it shows that as long as you have the necessary wherewithal, what it is that you're striving for, you'll get to your end point. But you've always had a passion for sports and sports journalism. So how did that segue from you being a corporate attorney to now being an agent?
Oh yeah, I mean, most of this stuff started, I did not come in at 18 years old thinking I was going to be an MBA agent. When I started going into law school and stuff like that, my initial thing was I thought I was going to be a criminal defense attorney. Mm-hmm. That's obviously what most of us grow up on. Like that's what you see. I felt like I'll do litigating. I've always been good at on debate clubs and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I initially went in with law school doing. I went in there. I joined like the trial team. I was very good, but I hated it. I hated it so much. Like it felt very performative for me. So I ended up going into more of the corporate route and stuff like that. And while I was doing that, the sports journalism at that point was just kind of like a hobby. Like I didn't even realize at the time I was networking or like building some type of network that I'd later use. It was more so just a way to blow off steam. As I learned more about the law, I ended up learning more about like the business side of the game as well. So eventually I just got to a point where I was like helping kids like consult like people at my school. Like I was helping them make decisions on stuff.
Mm,
And I got, and then I was also doing scouting and stuff. So there was times where like I would work with teams and I would see, they would ask me to scout certain players in my area, kind of see that and stuff like that. But all this whole time while I was doing that, I was just in law school and like, okay, this is just something that I'm doing to help law team and stuff like that. It was then when I started my legal career and I started kind of working in like those corporate landscape and stuff like that, where it felt like so soulless. Like it felt like soulless
mm,
work all the time. And I never knew that would be important to me until I realized it was important to me at that time. So at that point, I was like, all right, like, what am I going to do? Because, like, I'm not going to go into public interest. That's a very big pay cut. And I don't even know what I'm passionate about there. And then, like, I don't know. It was last July. I was with my wife in Maryland. We were just in an apartment. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to be an NBA agent. And she just looked at you just like, you know what? That's a really good idea. Like, it seems like, what I mean? Like, it seemed like it made sense. And when that light switch went off, like, everything kind of made sense. Like, suddenly, like, all the people that were just like friends and stuff like that, I saw, oh, wait, this is my network. Like, these are the people I can build off of. This is my path to doing it. And I just like went heads toe into it. I just like, all right, this is my new career. Like, I'm lucky I had like a work from home type of job. So I was able to kind of like transition a little bit while still working and stuff like that. And yeah, man, I just been building this thing now for like the past 18 months. I just got to a point where like I was comfortable opening the business this year.
mm.
So yeah, man. So it's been quite a journey. Like it was definitely not what I expected when I started, but I just thank God that I was, able to have like an open mind with stuff, able to kind of see things in perspective. And, it ended up, turning into a career that I'll see where it goes for me, but it definitely feels right. And I've never felt like that in my life about work or anything like that.
Oh man, listen, this is really good confirmation for me because I firmly believe that like I'm at a spot right now with. I mean, I went through it a couple years back when I first started the podcast because I told my mom and she's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, I know how that goes. Like, oh, that's cool, but what are you really doing? You
Yeah,
know what I know that. I know that same thing.
yeah. And so like I had this bachelor's degree and truthfully, like I felt like I got it because that's what my parents wanted me to do. It was a pre-professional physical therapy degree. And then I went to a open house at UMES for PT school, saw how much it was going to cost and saw how much my entry salary was going to be and what my cap was. I was like, I'm going to be spending close to $150,000 in debt to only make maybe at max 90,000 a year. And I was like, that doesn't make sense to me. So and I wasn't passionate about it. So I was just like, all right, I got to figure out something that works for me. And I think one day I was talking to my pastor about it, and he was like, well, I mean, I don't really hear you talking about, working on people's bodies. You're more so focused on the mind. Why don't you do something related to mental health?" And it's almost like he just opened the book of life and showed me the answer. And I was like, yo,
Hmm.
wait, he's right. And he's like, you're going to get a lot of pushback, of course, from your family. One, culturally, because we don't talk about mental health as much. And two, you're the eldest son. And, some in the mental health field, you're not going to make a lot of money. But if you're passionate about it and you know what it is that you want to do, similar to what you said earlier, like knowing your agency and understanding your purpose, who cares? It's all about you at the end of the day.
Exactly. Man. Yeah. And I mean, shoot, that's actually like an amazing kind of thing that you're going on at that age. Because the age you're at now, I don't think I would have even had the strength to pursue my own type of career like that. At that stage, I was still very much like, all right, parents want to be a lawyer, I'm a lawyer. So being able to find that kind of strength in yourself and find what you want to do, like at that stage, like that's a message from God right there. So I mean, I definitely say, stick to it and let it grow because who knows where it's gonna take you, but just trust it. Trust what you want to do and let it build from there.
Hey, amen to that. Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
So now at the position that you're at now, you've kind of already laid the foundational work. I saw the announcement, I think it was last week, that you got your first client, right?
Yes, yes. So yeah, I did sign. I have a couple of more people that I'm waiting for their season to finish that I'll announce later internationally. But yeah, the first person I signed, definitely some guy that has been around. His name is Isaiah Lewis. He did the FIBA track. He's been around the world a little bit, Germany, Turkey, and stuff like that. So yeah, he wants me to try to, he's looking now to try to see if he can get into G League and stuff like that after a few years. So he reached out to me. We were just he knew me through like an intermediary coach.
Mhm.
So he just reached out to me to saw if I can help him, and I was like, yeah, man, let's go for it. It's funny because he's actually local to me. Like we live pretty close to each other, so it ended up, working out and stuff like that. But yeah, he's a first of many. I'm expecting, I'll be announcing pretty soon. But I've been blessed to, a lot of people don't come in and get clients their first year. Just because it's very hard and very competitive field. There's like 510 NBA jobs and 785 agents, and the top three firms take like 60% of clients. So
Oh,
it's the rest we are fighting, we're fighting for our spot at the end of the day. So, I'm blessed to be in this position to like have them and stuff like that. But yeah, man, I'm definitely gearing up for what should be a pretty crazy next few months, man, with at the NBA draft and everything. So yeah, crazy times, man. But it's what I
absolutely.
signed up for.
Exactly. And you're making it work. And again, it it's so funny because like as you're talking, I'm like, I don't even think that he realizes like the favor that he has. Like the fact that, you started this 18 months ago, right?
Yeah.
Bro, absolutely crazy. And I'm sure that, as you continue to build, it doesn't, I mean, it's great that those top three firms are getting 60% of the clients, but I'm sure that as long as you continue to remain like put the blinders on, as like the people say, and focus on what it is that you're trying to accomplish and what sets you aside from everybody else, like everything else will start to flow. So,
Oh yeah, and I mean, I don't worry. Visualization is very important to me. Like
mhm,
since I started this, I've always known I'm gonna be the best agent here. It's just I'm already on that track. Like I already treat myself like that. It's just a matter of I'm just going through the journey now.
mm,
So I've never doubted that. Once I started this, and I think that's the confirmation I needed to like know this is the right path. Because everything else I've done, I've been very worried about. Like, all right, I'll see if this works out for me. I'll see if this job works out for me. This career path I've been on, it's like it's gonna work out for me. I'm just now going through the journey of it. So I wake up every day passionate. I wake up every day knowing my time is coming. My time is over already arriving. My time is already here. I'm just walking through it. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely feel very confident in that. And I think, everyone should always visualize themselves in that way because you have to see yourself. I would say even visualize what you want and then see it even further than that and focus on that. Like the same way, like in sports, they teach you to run through the line. Like I think in life, you have to be like that too. You got to think past the line, like see yourself way further so you can get to where you need to go to. So I'm very big on that always.
very well said. And that's honestly something that I've started implementing now because I've noticed like I'll set goals, but I don't really visualize myself in the rooms that I'm setting for myself. And it's kind of hindered me because sometimes opportunities will present themselves and I'll feel like, oh, why me? What caused me to be selected? But then literally I was in church a couple weeks ago and it's almost like an aha moment. Like everything that's happened up to this point has been planned by God. And I just need to trust him and trust myself to not mess it up because I think it kind of stems from being the oldest son. Like I almost like developed this perfectionism complex. Like
Yeah,
everything has to be perfect because there's people that are looking up to me. And if I mess up that I'm gonna let everybody down. And I had to get over that because it we live in a society where they try to paint everyone as being perfect, but no one in this world is perfect. And I think people would be so much better off if they realize that in order for you to advance and be successful, you have to fail. You have to make mistakes. But what can you learn from that?
exactly. And the way I had a coach that always used to tell me, just step into your crown. That's always how I kind of visualize it. Like there's already a crown for you. Your throne is already there. Just trust that it's what you are. Like just trust who you are and you're a king. You're focusing on what you want to do. You're breaking, in some situations, generational traumas. And you're leading. We have the gift of being an eldest can also be a gift because you have the gift of influence that a lot of people have to fight for. You just have it before you even know what to do with it. So you just
Mm,
use that, but you don't use it you use it. It's very counterintuitive because you have to serve yourself to serve others. People seeing how you treat yourself, people seeing how happy you are and stuff like that. That's what people want to emulate. If you're just doing stuff for people and they can see it and they can see that like it doesn't treat you well, you don't feel served by it, they want to get away from that, even if you're doing it for that person. But people are attracted to energy, not examples, is what I've learned. So give yourself a good energy, do what makes you feel good, and what's gonna attract you is what's meant for you.
very well said, my brother. Very well
Yeah,
said.
man.
We talked about it earlier before we started the recording, but with breaking ground into entrepreneurship, but also being married, how have you been able to find like a good work-life balance between being a married man but also being a go-getter, a hustler at the same time?
Oh yeah, man. That's like a continuing developing thing. I think for me, the biggest thing I did was like it forces you to be very organized in what you do because your time is very valuable. Both in like you're saying, you have to water a lot of different plants. Like your business is like a newborn baby, especially when you're starting it off. But then like you still have to be present, like in your marriage. Like you can't just leave your wife just doing all the dishes, doing all the cleaning, doing all everything. You're sitting on a computer all day. So to manage that, like I work a lot and I spread my day out. Like I use an app. It's like an AI generated app that just sets my schedule for me.
Hmm.
And then from there, I'm up at like 5. I do my workouts. I do my stretches. I hop on right on calls because I do international and domestic. So early in the morning is a good time to catch a lot of people like in Germany and stuff like that. So then I'm up early doing that. And it's all structured. Like you have to structure your day. That you cannot just be like, oh well, I mean, I kind of know what I'm gonna do in my head and this is that, da, 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 or you'll end up just working in a hamster wheel. And I think learning from my dad, because obviously my dad has, run the business as well. Um, I just learned a little bit of like what I can take from it, kind of what I can't take from it. Like at times when they were stuck, I saw sometimes how like he would, kind of focus on just like right now instead of like thinking about like how to build out further and solve the problem and stuff like that. So something I try to implement in my business is like always kind of thinking ahead. And that helps because I'm always organized and always prepared. And if you have that, it's at least the building blocks now being able to separate your time correctly. So structure is a very, very big thing. And I think working on your physical as well, because me and her both are both work from home right now. So that at least adds an extra layer of easiness that a lot of people don't have. Some people a lot of people work 9 to 5 jobs. We're at least blessed that we both kind of work from home. But something with that is if you work from home and it's like you're unorganized, like days won't merge together. You won't remember which days you get very disorganized and stuff like that. So us being able to like, go outside, commit to going to the gym every day, commit to taking walks outside, like just being connected and stuff like that. It's a good way for you to get that physical and then also, at times just build your marriage and talk and stuff like that. So I said a lot, but I'd boil it down to just being very organized. That's the only way because there's not enough time in the day, so you really have to make use of the time.
Okay, yeah, very well said. I think that the the married men that might be on the fence about entrepreneurship because they might be worried like they won't be able to handle the added stress and the time management. I think, like you said, really boils down to organization and communication. Because if you're not talking about it and communicating with your spouse, obviously there's going to be some rifts. So
Yeah, and by communication, you have to talk about money. You cannot.
okay,
That cannot be like a secret, especially like depending on what you're doing, right? Like I still have like, if you're able to still like work a job and then still build a business, cool, right? But if you have to really sometimes you do have to get to a point in entrepreneurship where you have to take a chance and you do have to like, all right, have built a nest egg for yourself so that I can now just kind of focus fully on my business. And there may be times where you're not bringing in the same income that you're bringing before. So you have to be able to talk to your partner about that. Your partner has to be on board with that. And that means you have to be organized and very much understand. Like with my wife, I sat down and talked to her. I was like, look, this is my 3-year plan. If I'm not bringing in X amount of money by this time, I'll stop. Like I'll do something else. And you have to be realistic with that. You can't
Mhm.
because now you're the thing about being married is like you are making decisions for your household at the same time. So you can't just always put yourself first. So as much as I'm doing this, I have to also be real firm, be like, all right, this doesn't work for me in this amount of time, but I'm not bringing in this and this by this amount of time. I will do something else. Like I'll get another driver, I'll whatever. But communicating, especially about money, was something that a lot of us as men like kind of run from when it comes to dealing with women and stuff like that. You have to be open. Like that's the number one thing. Like if you're with a good woman, if you show her your GPS, even if like she's not driving, you show her just a GPS like where you're trying to go to, she will listen, she will support you. And if she's not like that, if it's something that you're passionate about, it's a sign as well. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I would say, yeah, you have to be communicating about a lot of things that are not always comfortable, but it's the reality if you're living with someone and you guys are both, someone's relying on you to be the man of the house, like you have to be able to, be able to speak to them and show that like you are being responsible with your dreams as well.
Okay. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I'm taking notes because it might not happen right now, but it will down the line. So,
It will happen, yes.
all right. I got one last question for you, and then we'll
Yeah.
wrap up here. Seeing that in a couple of days that we're going into Mental Health Awareness Month, how have you been able to? Because you mentioned managing the physical, but how have you been able to also maintain a positive mental health, like a mental space, to be as productive as you can be?
I think the biggest thing for me is being able to like identify like my biggest things are anxiety, I would say. Like I can get very into like anxiety and get very overthinky about stuff. So my thing is like being able to know that I'm feeling that and not necessarily fight against it, but just let myself like kind of surrender to it. Like, all right, like I'm feeling like this. Let's just like let myself feel like that. I know to put on music. Like I might just take a walk. I might do some breathing exercises. Like I do a lot of meditating. So I'll meditate and stuff like that. But I've learned the biggest thing like in my years, like I spent a lot of my 20s trying to fight feelings. Like, okay, I know I have this feeling. Let me try to not have it anymore. Let me try to stop having that. And I think now it's the biggest thing that's helped me is like, all right, like just accepting myself. I have this feeling I can get anxious sometimes. I'm feeling anxious right now, just turn on some music, relax for a second, breathe for a second. All right, you feel better now. Let's get back to it. So I would say, yeah, definitely just like just trust who you are and like work with who you are. Don't never trying to fight. Don't fight against your own current, I would say. And that's helped me stay very positive as I've gone through some very crazy times, man. Some very crazy times. So yeah, I'll definitely tell people just trust themselves. Like don't fight your current.
Going back to trusting yourself, I think probably one of the biggest things for me, going back to like the anxiety, is the imposter syndrome, like feeling like I don't deserve to be where I'm at. And it's been quite a challenge, but like now I'm getting to a point where I'm realizing like, again, everything that's happened in the past leading up to this point has brought me here, and I have the necessary tools and the resources and the knowledge and the experiences to help guide other people through what it is that they've been through. And I think you got into that point now too. And if, like you mentioned it earlier, if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't expect to take care of other people.
Mhm.
So you gave a lot of really good nuggets today. I really appreciate you, taking time out of your busy schedule to make it. And I mean, that's all I got. Do you have anything you want to share with the people before we get off?
Nah, man, no, of course, man. Man, just to everyone that's feeling like you and stuff like that, maybe younger people, just know that like you always belong in that room. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. You deserve to be exactly where your work brought you. And don't ever doubt that. Don't ever doubt that, especially people that look like us. If you're in that room, it's because you earned to be in that room. Believe me, you earned it every time. So wear that and be proud of it. And young king, step into your crowns, man. This is just trust yourself, trust your work. So that's all I would say, bro.
Hey, this is King's Tales, where we help you transform trauma into triumph. This has been a wonderful session with Mr. Alex Kongo. If you want to connect with him, follow the link tree down in the description. And if you are an aspiring athlete and you're looking for a credible agency to work with, he's your man. So once again, it was a pleasure. Thank you, Alex, for making it on, and have a great weekend.
Thank you.